Good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner. I'm Braxton Gray, joined alongside Coach Everham. Kaz Dino is still out, so he's not able to join us this morning. You know, Mr. Everham, I had a lot of questions about the sectionals and everything, but I only have you for 2 segments, so we got to keep it short.
All right.
But let's talk about last night's game. You know, it was a very good game for you guys, and one player that really stuck out to me was Austin Miller, and then, of course, you added Jack Stover in the mix, and a lot of things seemed to just click for you guys last night.
Well, I think so. Speaking of clicking, how did it go with Mr. Beasley last night?
It was actually, it was really good. Mr. Beasley's very good. He's very knowledgeable of the game, so it's always fun to call games with him.
I know you got to keep him in line. You would tell him what time to show up.
Yeah, he talks. He talks a lot too.
He talks a lot. So I'm sure you guys are covering the game tonight.
Yep.
7 o'clock at Northwood sectional finals. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But yeah, last night's game was. Obviously, sitting here this morning, very proud to be a Warrior. Honestly, we had some guys that stepped up big time. We got Jack Stover back, as I'm sure you probably heard the rumors floating around school that he was coming back. It's amazing, after a broken arm and a plate put in his wrist that he was able to play. But technology today and the surgery that he had and how quickly, young people heal nowadays, it's amazing. I mean, really, for him to come back and to give us really good minutes and got a lot of rebounds. I think he had 7 points, maybe 8 rebounds, something like that.
Yep.
It was across the board. If you'd have told me before the game that Ethan Hardy, plays 13 minutes, I tell you, we're in big trouble. And, Shepard hitting all those threes from the outside, I would have told you we're in big trouble. I knew that they were better than what people thought, but I can tell you our team knew and respected how well they've been playing. I know they've lost a few games in a row towards the end of the year, but they played a really tough schedule towards the end of their schedule, and tough teams, and then to win on Tuesday night certainly gives them an advantage going into last night's game. They have a sectional win, against Valley, and a convincing win at that, against a good Valley team. So, I thought the first quarter was key for us. We jumped out on them just a little bit. We hit a couple shots early, which is always nice. I think Austin Miller had 11 points early. So for us to come out, in the first quarter and play like that, we were ready to go.
Yeah, and Coach, let's just talk about, you guys played them earlier on in the season, and you guys beat them, but that score was only 39-25. This score was 56-45. Yeah. What does that show about the growth of not just your team, but Lakeland's team as well?
I was just thinking that too. Lakeland it was one of those games, against us that you never really know what's going on inside of a program, or it's they're on the road, or what's happening that week, or even in kids' lives. You really never know exactly what's going on. And for whatever reason, I didn't think they really came out ready to play against us. They're a more talented team than what they showed against us, and they never really hit, a spurt. I didn't think they played hard. They turned the ball over. Shepard last game had 2 points. I think he was maybe 1 for 8 or 1 for 9 in our first game, and with 8 turnovers. And we saw a different team last night in Lakeland and a different player in Shepard. Bontrager was Bontrager, I thought, last night. He certainly hurt us on the inside. We really had no answers for his interior play. They are who I thought they could be and were, and we had our hands full. I mean, all night long it was just a dogfight. Super physical game, scratching and clawing and pulling the jerseys, and it made a hard game for the referees to call. But, we got in the bonus early in the second half that was really beneficial to us. We took advantage of the physical nature of play and scored some points at the free throw line. But every point mattered. We were only up 3 points before Austin Miller decided to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about that, Coach. You said in the pregame you wanted to attack down low to Hardy, but as we know, Hardy got a little bit of foul trouble, but you guys still managed to get 26 trips to the free throw line. Talk about that. And, in my opinion, if you get to the free throw line and you have somebody like Austin Miller that can just hit threes anywhere on the court, you guys can almost win any game or anybody you go up against.
Yeah, we had, again, if you told me before the game that Ethan Hardy plays 13 minutes and doesn't really contribute that much for that long of a time on the floor, I tell you, we're in big trouble because we really wanted to get the ball inside. He drew a couple big fouls on Bontrager when he was in there. He missed a couple bunnies that I felt like he normally would make, and so to go without him, gets into our bench a little deeper, and without Jack, that gets into our bench way deeper, So it was nice timing for us to have Jack back last night to give us some really good, solid, positive minutes when Ethan really was in foul trouble and having trouble hanging in there. But when he did get in there, he made a couple nice rebounds and made a big bucket for us. So it was a total team effort. I can tell you, guys 1 through 15. 15 means the 12 guys dressing and the 3 guys on the bench that have been dressing, prior to the sectional. It was a total team victory last night.
Yeah, and absolutely, Coach. I know we don't like to talk about one player's performance overall, but Austin Miller kind of struggled coming in. I think he only had 12 points the last 3 games combined. And then last night he just comes in and lights up the court, shoots anywhere on the court he wants, and he looked like the best player in sectionals. Talk about his performance and how he helped carry you guys to this victory.
Well, when we've won big games this year, Austin's been really good. So there's no mistaking that other coaches and other teams recognize that, and they're doing everything they can. They're game planning to try to limit, what he does on the floor. But sometimes, you're just better. And last night he got off to a strong start. He made some really beautiful backdoor cuts, and I thought that was a key to him being effective from the outside, as they were a little worried about him back cutting, and so he gets a couple layups early, on the back cuts, really wide open layups, great passes from Ethan Hardy, and I think one from Jack Stover. So that set up some of his, play on the perimeter, is that he was able to get those back cuts. And so, on the defensive end, again, he was really solid in the box and one, limiting Bontrager and his shots. Every shot that Bontrager took was contested on the outside. And to be honest with you, he got a little tired too. And I know there's a lot of people out there wondering, what in the heck are you doing in the third quarter? We took him out and we pulled the ball out just a little bit. We're trying to milk just a little bit of the clock. And it had nothing to do with the score or trying to hold the ball or anything like that. We had called timeout. We got Austin a rest during the timeout, and then we had a long possession on offense. Even though we turned it over on that possession, we were able to give Austin a solid, 5-minute real-time rest during that period. So that was the last rest he was going to get. And I asked him, "Are you tired?" He goes, "Yep." I said, "Well, I'll get you out." He goes, "No." He said, "I'm not coming out." But I chose otherwise, and our team did a good job of executing during that stretch to give him some rest.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just talk about Bontrager and Shepard, as you talked about. They scored 40 of the 45 points, Coach. You knew going in there are going to be struggles, but did you know they're going to be that big of a struggle, scoring almost all the team's points combined?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Bontrager, yes, we did, but Shepard's been a little bit up and down. He's been inconsistent shooting the ball. His shooting percentage is not real high, but some guys, when the bright lights are shining, you just kind of step up and make big plays. And every time it felt like maybe we could kind of stretch a lead into double digits. He'd hit a couple big shots in the first half. He hit back-to-back threes, I believe, and then in the second half, he hits a 3 in the corner. And then he got fouled on a 3-point play. He scored 6 straight points when the game felt like maybe this was it, that we'd stretch maybe a 9 or 10-point lead into 15, and we'd be comfortably ahead. So you got to give credit where credit's due. Those guys fought, man. I mean, it was not easy. Again, a lot of people might have thought it was going to be an easy game because of the score last time, but it's never easy in the sectional. You get to Class 3A sectional, and it's never going to be real easy. So, I thought our poise was really good. When they made their runs, when they made their big plays, we didn't play any different. We kept our poise. We didn't get too emotional, and that helped, obviously, get us to where we were at the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, it was a very physical game, but we're going to talk about that. We'll see this next game. But I just want to talk about, there's a lot of supporters listening to you, Coach. And as you're walking in the locker room, you had students, parents, teachers, everybody giving you a high five, hugs, congratulating you guys. And what does that mean to you guys? Because me personally, I know it's going to be a packed house tonight. Because when you guys played Northwood earlier in the season, the Hardwood TP was packed. And this is sectional. So what does the support mean to you as players and a coach?
Well, I tell you what, it's essential. I know in the third quarter, the game kind of felt like we just didn't quite have the energy, like a high-level energy, that we needed. And I kind of pointed at the crowd and was trying to get them involved in the game. And our guys responded to our crowd. And we're going to need that tonight. If you're listening on the radio and you're thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to go, please go, because I think you actually could help us, tonight. We put forth a lot of effort last night, and we don't play a ton of guys. So it's going to take an incredible amount of effort, to be competitive, to have a chance to win the game, tonight. And I think our guys are going to feed off the crowd. I would fully expect that we'll have a lot of people there, and it should be a fun environment, and hoping, people come out and support us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as Mr. Beasley and I said, this is the only game we'll say, don't listen to us on the radio, come out and support. They're going to need it. They're going to need the energy. So come out and support your Wallace Warriors. We're going to be on air at 6:30, and the game's going to start at 7 p.m. if you are going to tune in. And but we're going to take a short break, and once we return, we're going to talk about tonight's game against Northwood. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM, The Mix. Good morning and welcome back to Coach's Corner. Once again, I'm Braxton Gray, joined alongside Coach Abraham. And Coach, tonight it's going to be a dogfight, as we like to call it. It's an NLC game. It's a sectional championship. It's at the pit. And last time you guys played Northwood, you guys lost 52-33, but that did not show the game at all. You guys were just missing the chemistry and the togetherness, and I think you guys have it here. But Coach, what are your takes on tonight's game? Because it's going to be more physical than last night's game, and last night's game was super physical.
Well, that's what I think teams are trying to do to us. You got they're trying to make us uncomfortable, and some teams have successfully done that. But we've done a good job lately of handling that much better. We only had 10 turnovers last night. Even some of the games that we've lost, we haven't really turned the ball over, that much. So, yeah, you would expect anytime you play an NLC opponent, whether it be in the regular season or postseason play, you would expect a really physical game. They have, physical guys, and Borkholder and Edwards and Vincent and those guys. They're tournament tested. They're veteran guys, and so they know what they're going to try to do to us tonight. And it's just a matter of us executing against, what we think they're going to do. So, should be an interesting matchup. I know, we're up late last night, looking at film and watching the game from last time, watching the game from last night, all kinds of video that we're watching and scouting and notes. We had Coach Hoffert had the Northwood scout this year and went over their player personnel and their tendencies and a lot of information that we had to sift through to figure out what we're going to actually relay to the team. So, we got a big day today, this morning, as the guys come in for shoot around and really start to take a look at what we think we can exploit. And Northwood is a very, very good team, but like all teams, they have some chinks in their armor, and it's a matter of the coaching staff kind of finding out where they are, what they look like, and then how we might try to attack those things. And you know darn well that we were doing that last night, but you do know that Northwood's doing the same thing. Their staff is trying to figure us out as well. And so it will be an interesting chess match, I think, early in the game to figure out what each team is game planning for.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the score did not show anything because at halftime against Northwood, you guys were up 3 points last time you guys played them, and they just came out a little bit more aggressive the second half. So how are you going to stop that, and how are you going to make sure your players are fired up to match that intensity in the second half?
Yeah, I didn't even think we played all that well in the first half, against them. We shot the ball terrible. I think we were 1 for 12, from 3-point range. And, we missed a couple easier shots on the inside, and we still had a 4-point halftime lead. And, what really got us and something we'll be prepared for is their full court press, tonight. We've done a good job after that game handling, the full court press. So if they want to extend, 84 feet, we're going to try to score off of that. So we're going to be very aggressive against their press and make them make the decision. You're going to keep pressing and play a high possession game and give us easy shots, or you're going to pack it in the paint. And again, I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see what Coach Wolf is thinking. If he wants to play that way, we'll play that way. If he wants to pack it in, we'll play that way too. So we'll be prepared for whatever they throw at us. But in that first game, we did not handle things real well. We got flustered. We lost our poise. Things that we did well last night, we didn't do well against Northwood. That was the first time really where we lost it and threw the ball right to them about 3 possessions in a row against their press. And what is a tied game, goes to like 8 points. And Northwood's a good enough team where, you get down by 8 or 10 points and it feels like 20. Because they handle the ball well, they execute on offense, and then they really protect that paint, and it makes it hard for you to kind of come back. And I think, West Noble saw that last night.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk about this game tonight. You still said about the full court press. So your guards tonight are really going to have to step up. Carey, Salzar, and Boyer. They're all going to have to step up and play probably one of the best games of their season because, they're really going to pressure them. They're going to have to move the ball up the court quick. So talk about the importance of guard play tonight for you guys.
Yeah, when you face pressure, it's about positioning and passing. And our positioning has got to be exceptional. I don't think, anybody's got to play out of their mind tonight for us to win. I think we just need to play well as a group. And I think that's what's going to be important. When we lost our poise just a little bit, they went on a little spurt, and we'll have to guard against that tonight, maybe use a few timeouts if that does happen, and really keep our guys poised. But when our positioning in that game, when our positioning was poor and we didn't execute the press offense is when we had our struggles, when we threw the ball to them, really because our positioning was bad. So we're going to go over that in the shoot around today. Before we leave tonight, we'll go over it again, and I'm confident we'll get in the right spots and we'll make the right plays.
And, we talked about Austin Miller's big game. He had 28 points last night. And, Northwood got in Austin Miller's head last game. I'm sure you remember that. The crowd was interacting with him, and Austin Miller just did not perform well. So how important is it for not just Austin Miller, but for all your players to tune out the crowd and really just zone in and play their best basketball game?
Well, we played in big games, and I always say that you don't lose unless you don't learn from your mistakes, learn from your losses. And so I didn't feel like we lost that game at Northwood. I felt like we learned, and we learned a lot about who we were and how focused you got to be during the game, before the game, and making sure that you're in the right spots, both physically and mentally, So those things that I felt like, that was a big game in our season. The crowd was right here on our home floor. The crowd was really into it. And again, you go through moments like that during the regular season that hopefully prepare you for moments like what's going to happen tonight. So I'm very confident that our guys have learned a valuable lesson, from the experiences that they've had. And keep in mind, look, we played in the sectional championship last year, and it was right here at the Hardwood Teepee. And Northwood, if you take a look at their team, some of their younger guys and some of their veterans, they haven't been on this type of a stage, in a few years. And I think if you even go 2 years back, they had gotten beaten by Fairfield, if I'm not wrong on that. So, if anybody should have a little bit of an advantage in terms of experience, it would be us. We've been here. We were just here last year. We played in the sectional finals and got beat up physically against Tippy Valley. So, we played on the big stages, and we're back again. And, this year it's a little different feel because I think the expectation is that we're going to go over there and win. And last year, after 5 wins, we pick up our 6th win at West Noble in the sectional, against West Noble in the sectional. We were just happy to be there. Last night in the locker room was just a little bit different of a feel. Like, look, we knew that this was going to happen all year long. We've been talking about it all year long. And, I called some coaches last night and had conversations with them that played against Northwood. And one thing I learned is that, Northwood's doing the same thing. Coach Wolf is doing the same thing that I'm doing in the preseason, in the summertime. He's really got his eye on, like the backwards by design. You're thinking, okay, what is it going to take for this particular team to win a sectional championship? Yep. And you start preparing all the way back to the end of the previous season. You're starting to think, well, what's Northwood got coming back? What's, Lake Tippy Valley, what do they got coming back? So, when the season ends, that's when we start thinking about, well, what about next year? What are we going to have to do? And I can tell you for sure that their coaching staff and their team, they've been thinking about Wawasee quite a bit. And I think that's a testament to how far our program has come in a short amount of time. In just a few years, we've become major players in the sectional play, and we're sustaining that. Last year we were in the sectional finals and gave Tibby Valley a run for their money. This year we're back in the sectional finals, and we're sustaining the idea that every year in and year out, we're going to be major players in our sectional, in this area. So, sooner or later, one's got to pop, and we got to get over the hump, and then maybe we can start winning some, year in and year out. That's the goal. But, another opportunity tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. But, Coach, let's talk about one player that Northwood did not have last game that might give you some troubles tonight, and that's going to be Jason Burkholder. Against you guys, he had a nasty fall, so he had to sit out for the rest of the game and a little bit of the season. But he's going to be back tonight, and he's going to be ready to battle you guys.
Yeah, he is a battler, too. And I'll tell you, I did get a chance to meet Jason. He was here watching, I think, his girlfriend's brother play in a Club 1 event here, and I got a chance to talk to him and also talking to Coach Wolf, about him. We obviously were really concerned about his well-being, after he took that nasty fall here on our court. And I think as a basketball fraternity, whether you're a coach, a player, and it doesn't matter where, you just hate to see stuff like that happen. And we're really glad to see him back participating and being healthy. And I know he's got a bright future, I think, in football, after high school. So, he's a good kid, and I got a chance to talk to him, and he's very well spoken, very respectful, and he loves to compete, and he plays physical. He plays nasty out there on the floor, but he's a good guy, and it's good to see him back. And I think, from a competitor standpoint, you want to see the other team's best. Like we don't want to, beat somebody and say, well, we were terrible that night if we got a chance to play again. No. We want them to play really well tonight. We want to beat them at their very best and prove that we can hang with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coach, we have a couple more minutes, but I just want to talk about not just the game, but the program itself. Sectional championship. You guys got one trophy this season at your hardwood holiday invite, and you talk about plucking the feathers from the cap.
Yeah.
And you said you got the full dress or gown ready if you guys win the sectional championship. But I talked to Rita Price. I'm sure all you guys know her. She's a very well broadcaster. She talked about not just you guys, but this team and how much she's heard about the growth of the Wawasee program over the last 4 years. So what does that mean to you, and how big would the sectional championship be for you guys?
Well, for the program, we've patiently approached, our program in terms of the development of our program. And we're obviously looking to take the next step. The next step is winning a sectional championship. And, everybody wants it. The community wants it, the coaches and players and the students in the school, and the hope is that we will get there at some point. If it's tonight, if this team is ready, they'll go out and grab it. They'll go out and earn it, and they'll go out and grab it. If not, I still think 14 wins in a season, and how far we've come in a short amount of time is very impressive. And I just couldn't be more proud of our guys. These seniors have been here since they were freshmen when I first got here. All they know is me being their high school basketball coach. And so, I couldn't be more proud of them and how far our program has come. And you would not believe, I can't even start to name the people that have been involved in that process, from the youth coaches, guys at the junior warrior practices, really buying into individual skill development, and through our Club 1, our travel AAU, and then our middle school coaches and our high school coaches. It takes an army. I mean, again, I could make a list probably of 150 people that seems like, that have been there since I got here, that it's really helped us along the way. So we've come a long, long way, and everybody knows that. And we're just looking for that next step. And tonight, again, last night's victory put us in position to take that next step. And so, I said, I posted something on Facebook this morning that great great opportunities, or great moments are born from great opportunities. And so we got a great opportunity tonight. It's not a matter of life and death. It is a basketball game, but it's a great opportunity, great environment. And we're going to need a whole community behind us to get this done tonight. And so wouldn't it be nice to have an exciting game and for the Warriors to come out on top and really to celebrate for our community? Because, look, listen, we've got 14 wins this year, and the last time this community has experienced something like that has been a long time, And so for us to be in the position that we're in, to have an opportunity to do something special like this, it's been a long time coming. Our fans have been through the ups and the downs, and probably more downs than that they would have liked. But we're here now, and the really cool thing is that there's real potential for sustainability. Our youth programs are there. The people and the support is there. And we just got to continue plugging away and grinding and see if we can get this done tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, that's Coach Everingham. And as I mentioned, come to the game. It starts at 7, but I'd recommend being there around 6:30 because it's going to be a packed house tonight. If you're going to tune in, we're going to start the broadcast at 6:30. But coming up next, we're going to have the assistant principal of Wawasee, John Snyder, joining us. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM, The Mix. Good morning and welcome back to Coach's Corner. We have a special guest with us, the new assistant principal of Wawasee. Mr. Snyder, I just want to kind of get to know you. I personally have not been able to talk to you at all.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing I haven't been able to talk to you. I never meet assistant principals. It's kind of sad. But let's just, you came from Whitco. Just talk a little bit about your background briefly and what brought you and why you came to Wawasee.
Sure. Long story short, I was a teacher and coach at Warsaw High School for a number of years. Had the opportunity to move into administration there, and then moved to become the principal at Whitco. When Mr. Walmer was hired here as the principal, he gave me a call and, for the lack of a better term, gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. Opportunity to work with him, mentor him. Mr. Walmer is a former player of mine, and I've known him for a long time, and we worked together as assistant principals at Warsaw. So I just look at Wawasee as a wonderful opportunity. It's a great community. The opportunities for students here is amazing, and one of the things that I always desire when I go to a school is to help the culture become better. And so far, I've just really been happy with my decision to be here, the people that I've been able to surround myself with here, and so it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's talk a little bit more about yourself. Let's talk about your basketball career. Where did you go to high school?
I actually went to Warsaw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played at Warsaw.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah. It's a little bit different wearing the green these days because I was so used to the orange and black.
Yeah, absolutely. And you coach at Warsaw. You said for 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was around that time. I was mostly assistant coach, either at the freshman level, JV level, or varsity level. I was the head girls coach for 4 years. Was an assistant coach, JV coach at Columbia City. And then went back to Warsaw. So yeah, all told, probably at the high school level, I've coached probably 24, 25 years.
Yeah, and Coach Everingham actually just came and asked you to talk to the team. And what does that mean to you, just to be able to go talk to young high school basketball players pursuing a sectional championship?
That's a great question. I get fired up, and pep talks and things like that only do so much, but. One of the things that I always try to talk about when I talk to a team is what it means to be a team and the power of that. And the difficulty in the course of a season is dealing with egos, whether, high school kids, pro teams, whatever. and holding on to that concept of believing in the team and believing in your coaches, because the season's a grind. And so it's really been exciting, for example, for me to watch this team grow and develop. I think they're playing some really good basketball right now, and mostly that's due to the fact that they're playing as a team. They're staying within themselves. They seem to understand their roles. And so, Coach asked me to come in and talk to them. I don't have anything that's going to win them the sectional championship tonight. They've done all the hard work, but I'm just thankful for the opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge. And it'll be brief. They don't want to hear me talk for a long time, but it's just a way for them to kind of, maybe if I can leave them with the thought that they can do this. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, and this is your first year at Wawasee, so you have not necessarily seen the program grow into what it is this season, but you have been, as you mentioned, talked about this season's team, and you talked about it's playing together, but what is it about this team, and just as a whole, and Coach Everyone always talks about it. They're well-liked guys. You never see them in your office, do you?
Right.
None of these players.
No.
So that's always good. But what is it about this team that you think they can overcome this huge obstacle and win a sectional championship?
Well, there's a couple. Going back a little bit, I've watched the program from afar. So obviously, when I coached at Warsaw, and then even as a principal, I'm a basketball guy, so I pay attention, and so I've always kind of seen what's been going on at Wawasee, and I know they've struggled the last few years. But I think the difference with this team is from what I can see, is number one, they bought into what Coach Everingham was teaching, and they worked really hard in the off season to improve. And then as the season began, I think they fell into their roles, or at least understood their roles as coaches defined them, and they accepted those. That's huge. You've got kids. You always have players on teams that can score, rebound, defend, and just kind of, what's your strength, and stick to that strength. And right now, Coach Everingham and the coaching staff seems to have those guys dialed in to that sort of concept. Like, just don't get outside of yourself. Don't play outside of what your strength is, and how that fits into the team concept. So I would say, I'll put it this way, because I've been around for a long time. The most successful teams have that. They have a mental toughness that this team displays, a basketball intelligence that this team displays, and an unselfishness that this team displays. So, whatever happens tonight or beyond, if they, whatever, this team has been successful because they have achieved that as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mr. Snyder, you talk about all the time the success of Wawasee growing us into young adults. Mm-hmm. But how much do you think the sectional championship would mean to the community of Wawasee and the school?
Sectional championships are precious. And I don't care what era we're talking about, whether it was the 1950s, 70s, whatever, 80s. I was a part of 3 sectional championships teams in high school, and each one was amazing. In fact, the one I didn't win, Wawasee beat us. So for the players themselves, this is a special thing. But going into tonight's game, don't make it bigger than what it is. Yep. They focus on Northwood. They don't focus on the sectional championship. For the community, to be a part of success, whether it's in basketball or football or softball or whatever it is. I mean, we've got a lot of successful things going on here at Wawasee. To be able to celebrate that together as a community is important. And for better or worse, and people probably disagree with me on some of this stuff, Indiana is still the Hoosier hysteria, yep, the basketball part of it. And so for me, this has been my lifeblood since I was a little kid. So this time of the year just gets me fired up. And the fact that a school that I'm an administrator at is playing for a sectional championship, I'm just excited. I'm just really excited for the boys, for coaches, and for the community.
Yeah, and you were at the game last night. So what did you see at that game that really gives you hopes? And just not just about last night's game, but just together as a team. What did you see last night's game and in the players that just really made you proud to be a Wallacey Warrior?
Sure. Couple of things. One, the thing that sticks out the most is when Ethan got into foul trouble and was really limited on his minutes. Other guys stepped up. I would imagine that Stover coming back from injury, probably coach didn't plan on playing him that many minutes, just from a fatigue standpoint.
Yep.
But Jack's, I mean, he battled, and the Bontrager kid from Lakeland is a solid player, and Austin played him tough all night, and so that lead, everybody kind of stepped up when Ethan got into foul trouble. And the other thing that I was so impressed with last night on a couple of occasions, we got off to a great start, and it's kind of easy maybe to coast from that point. But Lakeland made a run, hit some shots, kept hitting shots. They never went away.
Nope.
And what I liked about our mental toughness was when they would make a little run, then we would keep battling. We'd push it back up to 8, 9, whatever it was. And so that mental toughness component that I talked about is, and not, it's easy if the other team's making the run. It's kind of easy to panic sometimes. And there was no panic in our guys. They stayed the course. Didn't matter who was on the floor. And so that part was really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. But, we talked a lot about basketball. Let's step away a little bit in case people don't actually know who you are. You are the assistant principal, but let's just talk a little bit about yourself. Where did you go to college at?
I went undergrad to DePaul University.
Okay. Yeah. And what are some of your favorite things about the Wallacey High School? Is it the people you met or just the atmosphere at Wallacey High School?
Yes, I'll answer that with yes. I think one of the things that attracted me to Wawasee when I talked to Mr. Walmer and Dr. Eddington is the opportunity that is here. We have a lot of people that have made the commitment to excellence, and you've probably heard me talk about this often. I mean, I mention this a lot: the pursuit of excellence without excuses. And there are a lot of people in leadership positions here that believe that, and it's exciting, to see where we could be. I don't know how many times I've said it. I want to be the best high school in the state of Indiana, and that comes in a lot of different versions. But I think as we start aligning our academics and our culture and just everything that goes with that, this place. This place is going to be, it's special now, but it's going to be really special as we move forward with that.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you brought a lot of things yourself from Whitco. Let's talk a little about those. The governor's work ethic. You want to briefly talk about how you brought that over and what's that going to mean to the Wawasee community?
Sure. Well, this is something that the Department of Education with the governor has started and a couple years ago. And we bought into it big time at Whitco. And basically, it rewards the students who are doing the right things, who are working hard, who are showing up to school every day, who are good team people. And the governor, in conjunction with businesses across the state of Indiana, felt that those are the values that we want our high school students to graduate from. So let's do something. So as a result of that, several companies in the area, and Coach Everingham works with a lot of those companies and are offering incentives for students who earn that work ethic certificate. And we work in conjunction with all four Kosciuszko County schools, Whitco, Tippecanoe Valley, Warsaw, and us, kind of work together to develop that with business leaders and follow the guidelines through the state. And so I know, like I said, we bought into it a lot at Whitco. We've talked a lot about it here at Whitco. Coach Everingham's actually going to be meeting with students here probably next week or so, and kind of dialing that in. But it's a great opportunity for our students, and it's a great way for us to partner with local businesses who are looking for quality employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're running a little bit short on time. But Mr. Snyder, I just want your thoughts on tonight's game.
Well, here Northwood is a well coached, hard playing team. I actually coached with Coach Wolf at Warsaw for a few years before he went to Northwood. We're going to have to play well. And I don't mean that as something sort of dire, like we're going to have to be the best team we've ever been. It's not like that. I think we need to play to the best of our ability, our game, and disrupt them as much as possible. I don't think there's a magic bullet or a formula or anything like that. We are capable of beating them. I think on paper, if you look, maybe Northwood's the favorite in here. Yeah, I would say they are the favorite. They have a better season, and they beat us in the regular season. So obviously, but it's one night and it's one game and it's sectional in Indiana, so anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for joining us, Mr. Snyder. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Good talking to you.
As I mentioned, come out tonight. It's going to be a packed house. Mr. Snyder's going to be there. You're going to meet all the administration because a lot of them come out. They love to support the program. Come out. The game starts at 7, but be there at 6:30 because it's going to be a packed house. Once again, this is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM, The Mix. Good morning and welcome back to Coach's Corner. We're now joined by Mr. Beasley. And Mr. Beasley, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. And, we had a very exciting game to call last night. You just want to give us your thoughts on that game?
Sure. Sectional semifinals is an exciting environment. The crowds were both into it. Lakeland traveled a little better than I thought. Of course, the Warriors traveled well. We fought. It was a tight game through 2 quarters. We kind of stretched it out a little bit in the third and then finished them off in the fourth with free throws. But a lot of folks had us heavy favorites in that one. I think we ended up winning by 11. Yep. At this point in the season, you take the win and you move to the next game. So, that's our 14th win of the season, and I think that's really something to think about and talk about as we go into this evening's contest. It gives us a chance to fight like crazy and get one. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about yourself. What's your basketball career? Did you play in high school, correct? And in college?
I did. I'm a 1995 Wawasee grad, proud Wawasee grad. I played basketball through high school and then was fortunate enough to play in college at St. Francis, so I had a lot of fun doing it.
And have you ever coached any basketball?
I have. I was an assistant coach at St. Francis, Homestead High School. I was a head coach at East Noble, and enjoyed every step of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. But your careers kind of took a little bit of a turn now. You were actually the CTE director at Wawasee. Talk about the CTE program at Wawasee briefly.
Sure. I have been in education 18 years, and I just started as the pathway director, and CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. We offer about 13 programs for our students to challenge themselves with what I call hands-on learning, anywhere from auto tech to marine mechanics to welding to cosmetology to culinary arts and everything in between. So we have a wide array of opportunities for students to learn. Students get certificates in on-the-job training. They get dual credits with Ivy Tech, and in the most part is the most exciting part for a lot of them. They get to leave the school building for a couple hours a day and learn with their hands. So it's really been a fun transition. I've really enjoyed learning the dynamics of it, and I'm super excited about the future for our program.
Yeah, absolutely. And this also is a CTE program, so it's kind of fun to have the Pathways director on here and call the games with. So that was fun last night. We're excited tonight to call the game, and it's going to be a good one tonight, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But Mr. Beasley, I have a little insight. Did you have a little bit of background in radio?
Maybe a little back in the day.
Big E and the Raz, I think is what it's called.
Well, Coach Every and him and I, a few years ago, before he became the head coach, helped out for a season, and we really enjoyed it. We were called Big E and the Bees.
Oh, and the Bees. Okay, yeah. I thought it said this Raz.
But we had a lot of fun doing it. And, the best part is, you talk about our program here at the radio station. You're affiliated with it, obviously. And you see the growth of students. You see the excitement. Obviously, you're passionate about the radio. You do your homework. And each game, you continue to evolve. And I really enjoy watching you do what you do. And you're in your element, which is super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And, let's just talk a little bit about tonight's game, since I just kind of want your input. Since we're going to call the game, what would a sectional championship mean to Wawasee? Because you've been a part of the Wawasee how long have you been a teacher at Wawasee or a principal?
This is year 6 for me.
Yeah, so you've been a part of it a long time. So what would a sectional championship mean to the high school and the community?
Woo, that's a really good question. No matter where you're at in the state of Indiana, a sectional championship is a big deal. We have, I think it's been approximately a decade since we've won one. So most certainly, if you can cut down nets, it's about as exciting as you can get. I was fortunate enough my senior year to experience what it's like to win a sectional championship. Our community is all in, I can tell you that, and we'll come out and cheer on our kids. We're going 25 minutes away. So what it means is we're in a transformational stage, I think. We've had some downs. Certainly at 14-9, we could say we're on the uptick, and a sectional championship would be icing on the cake. Yeah,
absolutely. And what do you think it means to be a Wawasee Warrior? When you put on a uniform for any sport, what do you think that means? And, what are you expected to do as a Wawasee Warrior?
You got some good questions this morning. I think high school athletics is about the experience. I think it's about the camaraderie. I think it's about the discipline. I think it's about sacrifices. And when I think about Wawasee and I think about putting on the jersey, I think that it embodies everything that I'm talking about. The one thing that I think is really important is to understand our past and not let it dictate the future, but let it be a part of how we evolve and what we do. So, this is Coach Evernham's 4th year. Interesting enough, our seniors, Miller, Boyer, and Hardy, the ones that are out there quite a bit, started as freshmen with Coach Evernham and know him really well and know the system and know what the expectation is. Coach O'Connell, Coach Hoffert, they've all been part of the program. So this is a group effort, kids, families, coaches, and the culminating event this evening happens to be the sectional championship in sectional 21.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about how important do you think, because we said last night, don't listen to the radio, come out to the game. So how important do you think it'd be to literally fill up the Panther pit?
I think it's very important. I can tell you firsthand as a student athlete, and it's been a few years for me, but as a student athlete, there's not a better feeling than seeing your town, your communities, North Webster, Syracuse, and Milford, supporting our kids because they come from all over, and driving 25 minutes, grabbing a ticket, and watching what I call the cheapest entertainment in Elkhart County tonight.
Yeah.
Bring it.
And it's going to be a phenomenal one. And we talked a lot last night about the physicality, but I don't know if you know anything about NOC basketball, but I think this game is going to be way more physical than last night. So, what do you think? How do you think we're going to have to control ourselves? And do you think everybody's going to be ready for how much physicality is going to be going on?
Great question. I thought last night certainly was a little bit more chippy, a little more physical. Yep. So when we're talking about passing, we're going to have to make sure that we're making direct, strong passes and strong cuts. We're going to have to go to the basketball. We're going to have to be really strong with it in the post. I think Hardy is quite aware of that. With all that being said, I know the referees. I've seen the list for tonight. We've got a really, really strong group. A couple of them have done a state championship. So I think that it'll be physical for sure. Most importantly, I can guarantee you one thing on both ends. Both teams will give every ounce of energy they have. Yep. So it'll be a really high energy game.
Yeah, and let's step a little bit away from basketball. Let's talk a little bit more about yourself. You were the assistant principal at Wawasee, and then you transitioned into the CTE director. Has that been an easy transition, or just kind of talk about the transition?
Well, when I came back to Wawasee, I was in, like you said, the assistant principal role, and I really enjoyed working with Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Gwynn over the last 5 years, and we had a lot of successes together, and we had some struggles with some things collectively. As a group, the most important part of what we do, and it's the same thing in CT, it's all about the kids. Yep. So when you see the successes of our students, whether it be as an assistant principal or as a CT director, it makes you smile, and that's why we do what we do. The difference is, for me in my new role, it's a cooperative. So the Pathways is a cooperative that includes Columbia City, Fairfield, and Wawasee, and then we have West Noble and Goshen students that participate. So we say we help out with 5 districts and 300 students. With that being said, it's been really fun getting to know some other people in other districts and trying to talk to them about the opportunities their students might have within our programming.
Yeah, and I got to say personally, I think I've talked to you more as a CTE director than assistant principal. So I think you might interact with kids a little bit more in the CTE program. You think that'd be true?
Yeah, there's opportunities for that. Certainly, you and I doing the radio obviously is a different level, and I've loved it. But yeah, we have students come into our offices quite often. I really enjoy that part of it.
Yep.
And I also like we're connecting with businesses for obvious reasons, and I've enjoyed doing and meeting business owners and going on tours. So our students have some opportunities to get in their third trimester of their senior year, which is outstanding.
Yeah, and let's just we have a couple more questions here. So what do you think it means to be a Wawasee Warrior program? We talked about the student athlete, but what are just some of your favorite things about being a Wawasee Warrior and being a CTU director and an instructor at Wawasee?
Well, Wawasee's home for me. My wife and I have two daughters. One is a 7th grader at Wawasee Middle School, and one is a 5th grader at Syracuse Elementary. We believe in what we do at Wawasee, or else we wouldn't be living here.
Right.
And we're very excited about the future. Certainly, the things that I say to folks outside of here is Wawasee's large enough to offer a variety of opportunities for kids, but we're small enough to know who you graduate with. And for me, I think that's a perfect fit. We're right in that 900 to 1,000 student number for a high school. We've got super, super great teachers. We've got great admin. We've got the support from central office. And I think tonight, if you have a chance, if you're listening, you have a chance to head up over on Highway 6 and go to Northwood in the pit. You'll see we have an outstanding community that supports our kids and wants what's best.
Yeah, and last question here. I asked Mr. Snyder and of course Everham. What do you think? What are your thoughts on tonight's game? Just want to give a brief thought and how the game's going to be played out tonight.
Yeah, sure. The reality is Northwood's 17-6 and Wawasee's 14-9. So from an outside perspective, what I'd call the helicopter view, people are going to say what should be a really competitive game. When they came to us 2 months ago, we were winning by 2 at halftime.
Yep.
It got away in the third, and they ended up winning in the fourth. We will have to be in all facets very sharp, and we know that. Northwood is saying the same thing to their kids. In the end, some small parts of the game that could be a really big deal. A would be foul trouble. We need to stay out of foul trouble. B would be hitting our free throws and getting to the line. And then C, of course, is scoring some points.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, that's Mr. Beasley. And if you really want to listen to us talk some more, you can tune in tonight at 6:30 as we will broadcast the game. But as we said, don't listen to us tonight. Come to the game. Support your Wawasee Warriors. They're going to need every ounce of energy they can possibly get and hopefully bring home a sectional title. Mr. Beasley, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for tonight.
Yep. And once again, this is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM, The Mix.